Have you ever had a teacher who changed your life? Not because they gave you the highest grades, not because they were famous, but because they believed in you when no one else did. Years may pass. You may forget many lessons, but you never forget the teacher who helped you believe in yourself. This is the story of one such teacher and the final letter that changed many lives. My name is Emily Carter. I am 32 years old. Today, I work as a lawyer in a busy city. People often tell me that I am successful, but every time they say that, I think about one person, Mr. Benjamin Harris, my high school English teacher. He was not a rich man. He did not wear expensive clothes. His classroom was small. His desk was old. The walls needed fresh paint. But when he entered the room, everything seemed brighter. He always smiled. He knew every student's name. More importantly, he knew every student's dream. On the first day of school, he gave us a blank sheet of paper. He said, "I don't want you to write your name. I want you to write the life you hope to live." Some students laughed. Some looked confused, but we all began writing. I wrote, "I want to become a lawyer." When Mr. Harris collected the papers, he read each one carefully. The next morning, he returned them. At the bottom of mine, he had written, "Never let someone else's opinion become your future." I folded the paper and kept it in my notebook. I never imagined how important those words would become. Mr. Harris never judged students by their grades. He believed everyone could improve. When someone failed a test, he didn't say, "You're not smart enough." Instead, he smiled and asked, "What did this mistake teach you?" His classroom felt different from every other classroom. It was a place where mistakes were welcome, because mistakes meant we were learning. One afternoon, after class, I stayed behind. "I don't think I'm good enough," I told him. He looked up from the papers he was grading. "Why do you think that?" "My family doesn't have much money. No one in my family has ever gone to university. I'm afraid I'll fail." Mr. Harris walked to the window. He pointed toward a tall oak tree outside. "When you look at that tree, what do you see?" "A strong tree." He nodded. "Do you see its roots?" "No." "Exactly. The strongest part of the tree is hidden." He turned toward me. "People only see success. They don't see the years of hard work underneath." His words stayed in my heart. From that day on, whenever I wanted to quit, I remembered the oak tree. Years passed. I graduated from high school, then university, then law school. Life became busy. I moved to another city. Like many people, I promised myself I would visit my old teacher, but there was always another meeting, another deadline, another excuse. One rainy afternoon, while leaving my office, I received a phone call from an old classmate. His voice sounded quiet. "Emily, have you heard about Mr. Harris?" My heart skipped a beat. "No. He retired last month." I smiled. "That's wonderful." There was a long silence. Then he spoke again. "He's very sick." The smile disappeared from my face. "The doctors say he doesn't have much time." I couldn't believe it. The man who had encouraged hundreds of students, the man who always looked so strong, was now fighting the hardest battle of his life. That weekend, I drove back to my hometown. The school looked almost the same. The playground, the old library, even the oak tree was still standing. Inside the building, everything felt smaller than I remembered. The principal greeted me warmly. "You came just in time." "What do you mean?" He smiled sadly. Mr. Harris left something for his former students. He opened an old wooden drawer. Inside was a stack of sealed envelopes. Every envelope had a student's name written by hand. The principal picked up one envelope. Across the front, in neat blue ink, were two simple words: Emily Carter. My hands began to shake. This is for me? The principal nodded. He wrote every letter himself. He told us to give them to his students when the time was right. I carefully held the envelope. It felt surprisingly heavy. Not because of the paper inside, but because of everything it represented. I looked at my name, took a slow breath, and gently opened the letter, not knowing that the words inside would change the rest of my life. My hands trembled as I unfolded the letter. The paper was slightly yellow. The handwriting was neat and familiar. It looked exactly the way I remembered from school. At the top of the page, it simply said, "Dear Emily, if you are reading this letter, it means life has taken us in different directions. Perhaps many years have passed. Perhaps you have already achieved the dream you once wrote on that little piece of paper. Or perhaps you are still chasing it. Either way, I want you to know something. I have always believed in you." Tears filled my eyes. It felt as if Mr. Harris were standing beside me, speaking in his calm, gentle voice. The letter continued. "Do you remember the day you stayed after class because you were afraid you were not good enough? You looked at me with tears in your eyes. You believed that your family's financial struggles would decide your future. But I saw something different. I saw courage. Not the courage of someone who never feels afraid, but the courage of someone who keeps moving forward despite fear. Never lose that courage. It will take you farther than talent ever could." I stopped reading for a moment. I remembered that afternoon as clearly as if it had happened yesterday. I had almost forgotten those words. But he hadn't. He remembered every detail. I continued reading. Many students think teachers remember only the smartest children. That isn't true. We remember the kind ones, the honest ones, the curious ones, the students who never stop asking questions, and the students who quietly help others when nobody is watching. Those are the students who change the world. A tear rolled down my cheek. For years, I had wondered whether I had mattered to him. Now, I had my answer. A gentle knock came at the classroom door. The principal stepped inside. "Would you like some tea?" I smiled. "Yes, thank you." While he prepared the tea, I looked around the old classroom. The wooden desks were still there. The blackboard had been replaced with a whiteboard, but the room still felt full of memories. On the teacher's desk sat an old leather notebook. The principal noticed me looking at it. That belonged to Mr. Harris. He carried it every day. May I see it?" He nodded. I carefully opened the notebook. Inside were hundreds of names. Beside every student's name was a short note. Daniel, loves science but lacks confidence. Sophia, beautiful writer. Encourage her to enter competitions. Michael, needs someone to believe in him. Emily, strong heart. Never let her quit. I covered my mouth with my hand. He hadn't simply taught lessons. He had studied people. He had paid attention to every student. The principal smiled. He often stayed late after school. We thought he was grading papers, but many evenings he was writing notes like these, so he could remember how to encourage every child. I looked at the notebook in amazement. How many hours had he spent thinking about us? How many evenings had he sacrificed? The principal quietly said, "Most people never knew." I returned to the letter. Emily, success is a wonderful thing, but please don't measure your life only by your job. Measure it by the people you help, the hands you lift, the kindness you show. One day, no one will ask how expensive your house was. No one will ask what car you drove. But someone may remember that you believed in them when they were ready to give up. If that happens, your life will have been a great success. I folded the letter for a moment. Those words touched me deeply. As a lawyer, I had spent years chasing promotions, working late, winning difficult cases. But when was the last time I had truly encouraged someone? The question stayed in my mind. The principal returned with 2 cups of tea. He sat quietly across from me. "You know," he said, "Mr. Harris had many opportunities to teach at famous private schools. He turned them all down. Why? He always gave the same answer." He smiled gently. He said, "The children who need encouragement the most are usually the ones who cannot afford expensive schools." I looked out the classroom window. The old oak tree was still standing proudly, the same tree he had once used to teach me about hidden roots. Then the principal opened a small wooden box. There is one more thing. Inside was a photograph. It showed Mr. Harris standing with dozens of former students, doctors, teachers, engineers, artists, police officers, nurses, farmers, business owners, people from every walk of life. On the back of the photograph, Mr. Harris had written one sentence. "My greatest achievement was never teaching subjects. It was helping people believe in themselves." My eyes filled with tears again. I looked back at the unfinished letter. There was still one page left. The final page. I didn't know what it would say. But somehow, I felt that it contained the most important lesson of all. I took a deep breath, turned the page, and began to read. I slowly turned the final page. My heart was beating faster. There were only a few paragraphs left, but somehow, I knew they would stay with me forever. The letter began, "Dear Emily, if this is the last message you ever receive from me, I have only one favor to ask. Please do not spend your life trying to become important. Spend your life trying to make other people feel important. The world already has enough people who want to be remembered. It needs more people who help others remember their own worth. Never forget this. The greatest gift you can give someone is not money. It is hope. When you believe in a person who has stopped believing in themselves, you change a future that you may never see. I stopped reading. The classroom became completely silent. Outside, I could hear birds singing in the schoolyard. Inside, I could only hear my own breathing. I continued. There is one more thing I hope you will do. Visit someone who encouraged you. Thank them while they can still hear your words. Too often, we leave our gratitude until it is too late. Do not make that mistake. And if someone has never had a person who believed in them, be that person. Because every great life begins with someone saying, I believe in you. The letter ended with just 4 simple words. Keep teaching kindness. Below them was his signature, Benjamin Harris. I folded the letter carefully. For a long time, I simply sat there. I wasn't thinking about my career or my success. I was thinking about all the people who had helped me become who I was. Before leaving the classroom, I asked the principal, May I visit Mr. Harris? The principal lowered his eyes. I'm sorry. He passed away early this morning. The words hit me like a wave. I had come only a few hours too late. Tears rolled down my face. I never got to say thank you. The principal gently placed a hand on my shoulder. I think he already knew. That weekend, the school held a memorial service. Former students traveled from all over the country. Some were doctors, some were teachers, some owned businesses. Others were parents raising families. Every person carried a story. One by one, they stood before the audience. A doctor said, I became a doctor because Mr. Harris told me not to let one failed exam define my future. A police officer smiled and said, he taught me that strength means protecting people, not frightening them. A young artist held back tears. When everyone laughed at my drawings, Mr. Harris hung one of them on the classroom wall. An engineer laughed softly. I still remember the day he told me, every bridge begins with one careful step. I've never forgotten it. As I listened, I realized something. Mr. Harris had never tried to create famous people. He had tried to create kind people. That evening, I returned home. I placed his letter on my desk. For days, I couldn't stop reading it. Each time, I noticed something new. A week later, I walked into my office. On my way, I noticed a young intern sitting alone. She looked worried. Papers were spread across her desk. She was trying not to cry. I remembered myself many years ago. I walked over. Are you all right? She sighed. I don't think I'm good enough for this job. I smiled. Those words sounded familiar. Instead of giving her advice, I sat beside her. We spent an hour reviewing her work together. Before I left, I said, "I believe you can do this." She smiled for the first time that day. Months later, she became one of the best employees in our office. One afternoon, she knocked on my door. "I wanted to thank you." For what? For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. As she walked away, I looked at Mr. Harris's letter, framed on my bookshelf. I smiled. His lesson was still changing lives. Years passed. Several former students created a scholarship in his name. Every year, one student who showed kindness, perseverance, and a love of learning received the award. It wasn't given to the student with the highest grades. It was given to the student who lifted others up. Because that was exactly what Mr. Harris had done. On the 10th anniversary of his passing, the school invited me to give a speech. I stood in the same classroom where I had once been a frightened teenager. The old oak tree still stood outside the window. I held Mr. Harris's final letter in my hands. Then I said, "When I was a student, I thought teachers only taught subjects. But one teacher taught me something much greater. He taught me confidence. He taught me kindness. He taught me that success means helping others rise." I looked around the room. Young students listened quietly. Some smiled. Some wiped away tears. Then I shared the final words Mr. Harris had ever written. "Please do not spend your life trying to become important. Spend your life helping others realize that they already are." The room became completely silent. Then everyone stood and applauded. As I walked outside, I looked at the old oak tree. Its roots were still hidden beneath the ground. Just like my teacher's influence. People could see the successful adults, but they could not see the quiet man who had helped them grow. That is the way true teachers live. Not only in classrooms, but in the hearts of the people they inspire. Thank you for listening. If this story touched your heart, please like this video. Share it with a teacher who changed your life, and subscribe to Fluent English Hub for more original English stories that inspire, teach, and help you improve your English. And always remember, a great teacher may retire from the classroom, but the lessons they plant in the hearts of their students can continue to grow for a lifetime.